Hey guys, so the video today I've been super excited to make. I got this idea from Poland Banana Books on YouTube. Her name's Christine. She's great. Go check her out. I love her channel. I've been watching it since I've been on YouTube. And the video is what I watched this month. I don't have a great name to call it. She calls it Stories I Ate this month, which I really enjoy. So I'm going to try and come up with a title similar, but not too similar, obviously, to that. And so I'm just going to jump into it. There's quite a few things that I watched. As you all might know, I am a stay-at-home wife, and I basically just cook, I clean, I do pretty much everything that involves the house. I am still in my setup that is not set up, and it's going to be that way for quite a while. And don't mind the piece of paper, I just wrote down the things that I watch. The first thing that I watched, my friend Amanda came over. She's stay-at-home mom right now. So we've both been social distancing, so she came over to have a movie day, which we haven't done since, I don't know, almost 2 years. The first thing we watched is Sea Fever, and I'm going to say right now that I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was great. It is I wouldn't call it a horror movie, or it's more of a thriller. It's about this girl. She's a biologist, and she has to go on a field study, basically, on this boat to see how, like, their fish are caught or whatever, stuff like that. See if there's any weird things happening in the water, or, stuff biologists do. So she goes, and then something attacks their boat, and they all get super sick, and it's really good. I highly recommend it. It's on Hulu. It's like an hour and a half long or something like that. Very good. Especially if, like, the ocean freaks you out. It's definitely a horror movie if you think about it like that. The next thing that we watched that day was The House, and it's an anthology series on Hulu. They're both, like, their episodes are only like 5 to 10 minutes long. Very good, very well done. I don't know if it's a bunch of people filming these, like in the ABCs of Death, but it was really good. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It takes place around this house. It's built out of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and it's considered a horror, I would think. It's some of it you're like, whoa, that was trippy. Others you're like, I don't know what's going on, but it's really good. Highly recommend it. It will only take maybe an hour out of your day. Definitely one that you can binge really quick, and that's on Hulu as well. The next movie we watched that day was Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, not show. I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's the first interaction I ever got with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I still haven't watched the show, but the movie is just so freaking funny. It's so good. It's the 80s, early 90s, so like, think Clueless, but with vampires. It's amazing. Highly recommend. Definitely go watch it. It's on Hulu. The next one I have is The Babysitter's Club, and it is a new show on Netflix. It is based on the books, The Babysitter's Club. I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was really good. I thought it would be really childish, and I was like, I guess I'll put it on for background noise, and I ended up watching the whole thing in a day. It was so good. And I especially enjoyed that one of the characters they made was a witch, but like a real witch, not the pointy hat and the broomstick flying with green face paint or whatever, but she was a real witch, and she just did like healing and stuff like that, which I feel like there should be more representation of real life witches in like media and movies and stuff, because they get a bad rep. So yeah, And the next one I watched was Happy Mary Whatever. And it is a Netflix original. There's only one season. They're not doing another. And it is about this girl and her boyfriend. They go and visit her family for Christmas. And the dad hates him. It's typical, like, 90s type of comedy. It was good. It was not good. I watched it all. I was intrigued. But, I mean, if you like that type of stuff, definitely go watch it. But if you don't, it's not worth your time. Don't do it. I gave that one a 3 out of 5. I'm pretty sure it's one of the lowest that I watched this month. Or in the month of August. The next one I have is Quest for Camelot, and it is a old 90s cartoon movie. This girl, her dad dies, and the Excalibur, I think it's the sword, gets stolen from King Arthur, and she goes and tries to find it, and she meets this really nice guy along the way. He ends up being blind, which I really enjoyed that they had representation way back in the 90s. It's really good. The music is a little much, but I mean, it's what you get for back then. But I gave it a 4 out of 5. Definitely recommend going and watching that. It's on Netflix. Very good. And I will probably make Nakota watch it. The next thing that I watched was the new season of Shameless on Netflix. And it was amazing. And in the beginning, the first few episodes, you're like, okay. It's a little slow. But then it gets really good. And it's so good. And then it ends on like a huge cliffhanger. So that is the only reason I dropped it down to 4 stars, is because I wanted more. I want it right now. And I feel like every time I watch Shameless, that's what happens. I try to rewatch it once a year. It's really good. Highly recommend. Go watch it if you haven't. It's not for people who get very upset at a lot of things. You have to go in with an open mind and not get offended at every little thing they say, because they will offend everyone in that show in a good way though. So go watch it. The next movie that I watched was New Moon. I gave it 4.5. Everyone should know what New Moon is about. It's the second movie to Twilight. It's really good. The only reason I gave it 4.5 stars was because I liked the books better. I do say that I liked this movie better than the book, but I don't know if it's just recently or if it's always been like that, but the talking was really low and the music was really loud. And I watch my movies at night when Dakota's sleeping, so that's the only reason it got 4.5 instead of 5. The next one I watched was All Dogs Go to Heaven. And I used to watch this movie a lot when I was younger. I didn't remember a single thing, and I regret watching it again. Ugh. This was the lowest movie on my list. It's about this gangster dog who dies, and he goes to heaven, and he steals his clock, and he goes back down to earth, and he's got to save this girl. It's a big, long thing. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I don't recommend watching it. It makes me really sad that I used to watch it all the time and love it. And now that I'm watching it back, I'm like, oh, this is not good. Not good at all. I'm not even gonna, if my kids want to watch it when I have kids, I'll probably let them, but I'm not going to be in the same room while they're watching that. And All Dogs Go to Heaven is on Netflix. So, the next one I watched was K through 12. It's on YouTube. It's by Melanie Martinez. It is a movie to go along with her album K through 12 with the same name. And I give it 5 out of 5. Amazing. I'm not even going to tell you what it's about because it'd just be all spoilers. Go watch it. Sarah, who doesn't really like listening to Melanie Martinez very much, she even enjoyed the movie. I love it. It's one of those that I try to watch every month as well. And so, yeah, 5 out of 5. Go watch it. The next one I watched was No Strings Attached with Ashton Kutcher. And not sure who the girl was. I watched this one on Netflix originally. And I really loved it. I watched it as soon as Netflix came out, really. I loved it. It was really good. I was also in 7th or 8th grade when I watched it. And then I rewatched it and I was like, man, this girl's a bitch. I cannot stand her. It's about this guy. He meets this girl who he's been friends with on and off for years. And she's like, I don't want a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, well, we'll just, sleep together anytime one of us needs it. And then, so he falls in love with her. She doesn't want to admit that she falls in love with him. She breaks his heart. She, loses her shit a few times. Not my favorite. I gave it a 3 stars. I think I watched it on Amazon. I don't recommend watching it. It's not very good. I love Ashton Kutcher. He's a great human, but this movie just did not do it good. It was not good. Sorry if any of these movies are your favorites. I'm not trying to make you mad or anything. It's just my opinions. The next one that I watched was Miss Americana on Netflix. It is a documentary on Taylor Swift, and it's so good. It gives you more in depth about who she is as a person, what her values are, why she is the way she is, and how, for me personally, it showed also how bad it can go to your head when people keep commenting on your body. And I have had the worst mental stigma around my body because I've always had people bringing me down. And it's nice. It's not nice to know, but it's nice to know that I'm not alone, and know that somebody as great as Taylor Swift has had people say the same thing, and it affected her in the same way. It's nice to know you're not alone in that kind of thing. I highly recommend it. I know a lot of people don't like documentaries. I personally love them. And it just shows you more inside, especially if you don't like her. I suggest watching it just because you don't like somebody. You can see what they're actually going through and going through their mind, and see that oh, maybe I actually don't not like this person. I think I already said this, but I watched it on Netflix. The next movie I watched with Sarah is What Men Want. And at first I was like, oh, this movie took place in 2003. I swear we watched it in, not watched, but it came out in 2003. Came out in 2018, 2019, I believe. And it was so funny. Oh my gosh. I literally will recommend this movie to anybody who can take slightly gross humor, but not too bad. I would recommend it to my mom, but I wouldn't recommend it to Nana. I would recommend it to my friends, but maybe not my aunt. And it is so good, so funny. It's one of those with a valuable lesson at the end. It kind of reminds me of that movie with Jack Black, and he's very Shallow Hal. That's the one. That's one it reminds me of. Very good. Very recommend. That was a 5 out of 5. I watched it on Amazon. Go watch it. It's really funny. It's worth it. And then, so brings us to the next movie, which is Twilight. I originally gave it a 4.5 stars, but rethinking it in my brain, I'm just gonna give it a 5. It is nostalgia. It's home. It's literally everything you go to when you're sad. I love it. I'm already gonna watch it. I've made Nakota watch Twilight at least 4 times now, and sometimes he comes home and he's like, okay, let's watch the next one. So it's one of those, if like you want to stand and have a date and your significant other hasn't seen it or whatever, it's really nice to just sit down and watch it because they're not very long. They're really good. I watched that one on Amazon. I watched New Moon on Amazon. If I didn't say that before, they're all on Amazon. And then the last thing that I watched last month was A Simple Favor. I had watched it the month before, and immediately, like halfway through the movie, I messaged one of my best friends, Amanda, and I was like, you need to watch this. It's so good. And it was like 4 a.m., and then like I woke up and she's like, okay, I'll watch it. And then in the middle of the day, she's like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And I was like, I know. It's about this woman. She has a kid, and her kid makes a friend in his class, and his mom is like very businesslike, straightforward, cusses all the time, and the main character is like controlled and a goody two shoes and a girly girl, and there's so many twists. Her best friend goes missing, the working girl or businesswoman, whatever you want to call her. The businesswoman goes missing, and so the good girl, the typical like mom person, starts being like, what happened to her? And there's so many twists. It's so good. And every time I watch it, it gets better every time. And it's so funny. Just watch it. It's got Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively in it. And it is amazing. That doesn't sound like I watched a lot, but we have been going through shows. Like, I finished one already with Nakota this month. And then I'm almost done with another one that it's going to be on for September, but it goes on in October. And I really hope you guys like this series because I really enjoy it. I like talking about what I've watched, and if you enjoyed these ones too, comment down below what your favorite is. Comment your recommendations because I would love some new shows and movies to watch. And I hope this gives you like a good in-depth of the things that I watch. It's kind of all over the place, kind of like my channel. But yeah, I want you guys to have a great day, night, whenever you're watching this. Like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it because I love doing YouTube. And I want you to know that you should have, or try and be happy in whatever walk of life you're in, because that's what matters the most. And thank you for watching. Have a great day.